Hello again and welcome to Focus on Social Security here on the Cox Cable Access Channel. I'm Larry Jones from the Oklahoma City Social Security Office. It's good to be with you again today. And of course our program is part of the ongoing series here on the Cox Cable of Oklahoma Politics and You. Good to see you once again this month. We have a lot of things that we'd like to talk about. Before we go any further though, I'd like to introduce our guest today, Dennis Purifoy, as always, from the Moore Social Security Office. He's the manager here. And Dennis, you've got a special guest with us this time.
Yes, we do. I brought Johnie Dandridge from our office. Johnie is a claims representative. She's one of the people who takes the claims from people when they file for retirement or survivors or disability. So we're going to use her expertise here today to answer some common questions that people have about filing for benefits. And
she'll, of course, be able to give us some special commentary and give us a different view of how it actually comes out in the field as well. I think it'll be very good. Before we get into that Q&A with Johnie and Dennis, I would like to ask you, Dennis, about a brand new initiative that's underway here at Social Security. We are actually excited about it because it's a change to disability, something that we really haven't changed a lot in years gone by. We call it QDD, which is a Quick Disability Determination. Why don't you give us some of the background on this, which was just announced within the last month?
Yes, it did just start in Oklahoma in November. It had been piloted in other states in the country before that. But QDD, what that does is it uses the electronic folder that we have now. Everything on disability applications is put into electronic format, and it uses that, and we use computer programs that identify the people who are the sickest, who have the most severe conditions, who are most likely to be approved. And if they have medical records when they file, then that case can be flagged as a QDD case and it gets special handling in the Disability Determination Services. And the goal is to have a decision on those cases within 20 days. And in the initial go-through of that, the actual average processing time for those cases was only 11 days. So it is quite a fast track if you want to look at it that way. Now, it targets the people who are the sickest and are the most likely to be approved. Mm-hmm. So it only targets, it's about 5% of the people who are approved right now are under this QDD process. But Social Security is looking at expanding that, trying to identify other conditions that can be brought in under this QDD process as well, while still keeping it very, very fast.
This was a program that was actually started in the Boston region, and they thought it was going to roll it out very slowly across the country. But it went so well there that the Commissioner Astry said, I want to go ahead and roll this out nationally right now. So I think the goal, as you said, is not just to affect these first 3 to 5%. I think that percentage will grow dramatically as we add more conditions under the umbrella of disability.
Right. The idea is to add more conditions to that, so it will increase that percentage that now comes under QDD. Again, at the same time, while still getting those very, very fast decisions.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to that, and of course, there'll be more about that as time goes on. I'd like to turn the program over now to Dennis. He's going to talk to Johnie Dandridge about some of the issues of Social Security. Again, we give you commentary from more of a global standpoint, but Johnie actually works on the front lines. She does it every day, takes claims, has a unique perspective on what's happening, Dennis, and I thought it would be good to bring her into this broadcast and talk about some of those issues.
Okay. Well, one thing we want to ask is, a lot of people have questions, when should I file for my Social Security retirement? How far ahead can I apply? So what's your answer on that?
What we suggest for you is to contact us about 3 to 4 months prior to when you're ready to file. That way we can get you on the calendar, have an appointment set up, and when it's your time to come in the office, you don't have to wait in line. We will come out and get you and take your information for your claim.
Okay, so 3 or 4 months is plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Now, there is a difference. One question a lot of people have is, what's the difference between filing at 62 and full retirement age? And what do you tell people on that?
What we like to consider at 62, if you're going to file for your retirement benefits, one of the things that I look at is to see if you're currently working, what earnings that you do have currently. If you're not working, it's more beneficial for you to go ahead and file at 62. We have a formula that we look at, and if it's going to take more than 8 years for you to make up what you could lose by not filing at 62 and full retirement age, you're more advantaged to go ahead and start your benefits at age 62.
Okay. So is it true that if a person has a family history, say that where their parents lived into their 90s and their grandparents did, they might want to consider holding off?
And again, what we really want to do is make sure that we look at all the factors, your earnings. If you're not working out, it's still, in my opinion, it's more beneficial for you, because what you're going to gain by taking benefits at age 62 and what you would lose at 62, I'm sorry, at full retirement age. And make sure we remember full retirement age is increasing depending on the year that you were born. Full retirement age for most individuals now is age 66. So we look at what you're going to lose out on.
Okay. And as far as Medicare, filing for Medicare, what about that? People have questions. Well, when do I have to apply, or when do I apply?
Right. And remember, even though full retirement age is increasing, Medicare is still at age 65. So make sure you get in to file for your Medicare benefits at age 65.
Okay.
Good.
That's important for a lot of people not to miss that. One other question a lot of people have, I think, is on survivor's benefits. If a person's already drawing benefits and then they become a widow or widower, how does that work? Do they get both, or how does that work?
What we look to see is which record you're going to get the highest benefit on. We want to make sure we get the best benefits for you. Depending on your age at the time that your spouse passes away, that's going to determine your benefit amount, and depending on if your spouse took their benefits prior to their full retirement age.
Dennis, I have a question I'd like to ask Johnie as well. Now, we're talking about survivors, but if you get back to retirement and or disability, are you doing much with claims that come in over the internet, electronic type claims?
Oh, we're doing lots over the internet. There are many claims that you can file for over the internet, retirement, survivors, or disability benefits. Once you go in and file online, we get information in our local office so that we can contact you, any documents that we need. We'll do a follow-up with you so that we can get those documents in. But that saves you a trip to the office by filing online.
Dennis?
Okay. Well, I can't think of anything else. I'm sure there's other questions that we could cover.
Okay.
And of course, later in the program, we'll have a Q&A section where we'll ask Johnie to come back in and address some of those issues that come in by mail and throughout the various sources that we have. Another thing that we wanted to talk about this month, and again, it's a very action-packed agenda, because at the end of the year, whether it's in December or January, you're getting out of an old year, coming into a brand new year. There are a lot of things going on at the local office. One of those, Dennis, is traffic. And of course, you have the office here in Moore. I'm from the Oklahoma City office. That first quarter of the year, particularly, is an extremely busy time. And I noticed one of our items to talk about here was getting those Social Security numbers for children, because if you're looking to file taxes, and so many people are, without that number, you're going to be in a bad way.
Yeah, and this is a good reminder, because people who wait and they're ready to do their taxes and they're going through filling it out and ask for their children's Social Security numbers, if they don't have them, then they're stuck, because the IRS will not process those tax returns without their children's Social Security numbers. So that's one reminder that we want to give people now, as you're starting to get stuff together to file your tax return. Make sure you have your children's Social Security numbers. And if you don't have them, then you need to file for a replacement card with Social Security. And to get that, we have to have some kind of evidence of the child's identity, like a school record or something like that, as well as evidence of the parent who's going to be filing for the child for that replacement Social Security card. They get the same Social Security number that was assigned to the child earlier in life, but to get a replacement card, we do have to see some evidence of the child's identity.
So keep that in mind. If you're looking to apply for these tax returns, you're going to have that number when you fill out that return. Another issue that we're looking at here for the brand new year is the idea that, actually the reality at this point, that we've got a raise in progress. So we've had another raise this year. I did some research on the history page, finding that this particular type of raise, the annual cost of living raise, COLA as we call it, came about in the middle 1970s. It was President Richard Nixon that signed that legislation. So we've got another raise, Dennis, coming up here for the checks right at the end of December and also throughout the month of January.
Yeah, the checks are going to be going up by 2.3%. Some other figures that we want to cover. Well, first of all, the average monthly benefit for retired workers, people are always interested in what's the average nationwide, and that goes up to $1,079. and the average monthly benefit for a disabled worker will go up to $1,004. For people who get SSI, Supplemental Security Income, the maximum benefit on that will go up to $637 for an individual. And there's some other figures I want to go over. The tax base that people pay taxes on Social Security, retirement, and disability, not Medicare, but just the retirement and survivors and disability part, for the first time that has gone up above $100,000. It's for 2008 it will be $102,000. So the tax base, the tax rate, excuse me, hasn't changed. The tax rate is still 6.2%, but the tax base goes up every year.
And that's really interesting because I can recall in the early days the maximum was like $7,800 or even $3,600.
Oh,
so
yeah.
people at that point would actually get a raise when they'd reach the maximum through the year. But now at over $100,000, that's probably not going to happen in many cases.
Yeah, with that kind of a maximum on the tax base, that covers, I think, over 90% of the people who are working. And any earnings that a person has above that, they don't pay the Social Security tax on, although we should point out they still have to pay the Medicare tax on above that. One other thing I want to mention is people ask, well, how much do I have to earn to get a credit towards drawing Social Security? And that goes up to $1,050 in 2008. So in 2008, another way to put it is if you earn at least $4,200, you will get your 4, and that's the most a person can get, your 4 credits for the year. You have to have 40 credits to get Social Security retirement.
I was going to ask Johnny about the credits. The minimum is 40. But now for a lot of the people that are coming in to apply for retirement, they're having like 40 years. A lot of people have a lot of heavy work, and of course that makes their check higher.
Right. What we do is we consider your best 35 years as we are indexing your earnings and figuring your monthly benefit amount.
Okay, very good. Any other figures, Dennis, you want to cover?
Yeah, let me throw out a couple more figures. Okay. Medicare goes up every year, and the premium for the Part B of Medicare goes up to $96.40, and the deductible for Part B, that's doctor visits and so forth, outpatient visits, goes up to $135. Also, the amount that people can earn and still get Social Security when they're under the full retirement age, as Johnny already mentioned, that goes up as well, and next year that will be $13,560. So even if a person under full retirement age is working, if they're earning that much or less, they can still qualify for benefits.
So again, a very busy time of the year, a lot of things going on. We want you to be aware of all this because we are moving into the holidays or even beyond the holidays, and I know that a lot of people, Dennis, at this time of the year are looking to apply for their Social Security retirement benefits. I don't know that there's anything new about that. A lot of people say, okay, it's the end of the year, I'm going to go ahead and take the step. But I think it's a little bit different this year in that this baby boom generation is now going to be filing, something that we've never faced before, probably never will again. But this is going to have a big impact on the amount of traffic that we have in the office and the amount of people in the country that are actually drawing Social Security.
It's already having a big impact. We've already had a lot of baby boomers filing for disability, and there are filing for retirement now in great numbers.
Also want to talk a little bit about the online filing capabilities. As Johnny pointed out, we're seeing a lot of online applications right now, and this is a way, if you're wanting to apply right now, considering the type of traffic we're going to have in the offices, that this would be the way, a preferred way to apply for benefits. So why don't you talk a little bit about some of the online capabilities that we have at this time?
Well, you can file for retirement benefits, survivor benefits, spouse benefits, disability benefits. You can apply for all those online. It comes then to us in our office and we process it from there. But you never have to actually leave your house. You can do it all online and via mail. So it's convenient for people, and it avoids a lot of problems as far as waiting in the office and that kind of thing. And it is secure. That's one thing I want to mention about our online filing. Social Security has all the latest technology to make sure that all of our processes are secure. But in addition to filing for benefits online, you can get a replacement Medicare card. And one thing I want to mention also, because we're coming up on this part of the season, is the 1099s. People get the 1099 statements from Social Security that are statements of miscellaneous income. 1099s, you can get those for any number of things, but Social Security provides 1099s, and the reason for that, some people at the higher income levels do have to pay some tax on their Social Security benefits. And so that's what that 1099 is for. If you get somebody to do your taxes for you, just make sure you keep those 1099s and give those 1099s to them. But otherwise, it's pretty simple. There's a place on the tax return where you just write in that 1099 income, and then you figure out the taxes from there. It's not complicated. But hold on to those 1099s. Also online, you can get a statement of your benefits if you have to show that to somebody, if they want a verification of what your current benefits are. See, I think I already said replace a Medicare card. There's all kinds of things you can do. Once you start drawing benefits, you can go in and change your own address, change the direct deposit. So there's a lot of stuff on there. And I also want to mention there's a lot of information that's available online. If you've got a question about Social Security, you can probably find the answer on www.socialsecurity.gov. There's a place on there for frequently asked questions, and there's a whole lot of those, and a lot of other pamphlets that you can download. So there's a lot of information available there that right at your fingertips.
I'm glad you said that about the frequently asked questions, because this is something that I think would help just about anyone that has any interest at all in Social Security. You go in there, you can find the question, you can find the answer, I virtually guarantee. And not only that, at the end of the answer, they have other links that you can lock up with in order to get even more information. So this is part of the website that has really been researched and done well. We'd like for you to use socialsecurity.gov. Another thing that's happening right now is the Medicare Part D Extra Help. This is the actual file-up season. About maybe the second time we've done this, time gets away, but if a person is looking to change the plan that they have or get a new plan, we've got a lot of people coming on, this is the time to apply for the extra help. We don't help anybody, Dennis, with actually signing up for a plan. That's not our part of it, but we do want to qualify people if they might be entitled for some extra assistance from the federal government.
Right. I think most people who watch TV now or take a newspaper know that with all the advertisements in there for the different insurance companies that have Part D coverage, the drug bill part of Medicare, they know, and a lot of people are getting direct mailings, so people know that this is the time. But don't let that time get away from you. It's through December 31st. If you want to change who carries your Part D, your prescription drug benefit under Medicare, this is the time to do it. So there's a lot of good information out there available to help you make those decisions. You can go to Medicare.gov, for example, and there are some state resources at the State Insurance Commissioner's Office, for example, that can help. So there's a lot of good information out there. So again, what you've had before may not fit you well. You may have different drugs now, so you need to make sure that what coverage you have fits your current situation with what drugs you're taking right now.
Before we move on to the mailbox and answer some of those questions, I did want to hit those figures that Dennis was referring to as far as the extra help is concerned. For limited income individuals that have very low income, for example, for one individual, $15,315 a month. If you have that kind of income or less, say for example a $1,000 per month Social Security check, and that's all, you would qualify for some extra help there. $20,535 for a couple. There's also some resource limits. They've gone up for an individual, $11,710. That's going up to over $12,000 next year, and $23,410 for a couple. A home, a car, personal possessions do not count toward these resource limits. All right, we'd like to go ahead now and answer some of those questions that have been coming in, as we do every time on our broadcast. One is one that we've already addressed to a degree, but I'd like to get a little bit more in depth to it. I recently heard that I will get a 2.3% increase in my Social Security benefits coming up here in January 2008. We did talk about the fact that there is a 2.3% raise, but how do we actually determine that figure?
Well, this is sort of an arcane kind of thing, if you want to put it that way.
Well, but I like that word.
It's actually based on the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which is abbreviated as CPIW. It goes from the third quarter of one year through the third quarter of the next year, and this is determined by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The Bureau of Labor Statistics keeps different consumer price indexes, but this is the particular one that Social Security uses. It's the price index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. And that information, if you're interested in more about that, there is more information on our website, www.socialsecurity.gov.
Of course, we get criticized a lot for the fact that a lot of times the raise doesn't cover the increase in Medicare, but I'd like to point out here that we don't have anything to do with the increase in Medicare or the raise.
Right, right. That's set separately by Medicare. For most people, thankfully, the amount of increase that they're going to have in their check will cover the increase in Medicare.
I know that Johnie gets a lot of questions at her desk from people that are coming in, perhaps questions about identity theft that I thought, Johnie, I might ask you. This question says, I got an email that says it's from Social Security, but I'm not sure. They wanted me to email back my personal information. Did it really come from Social Security?
Okay. And no, that would not come from
That would
Social
be the
Security.
short answer, right?
That's a short answer. Social Security will not send you an email asking you to give personal information, such as your Social Security number, your date of birth, or other private information. Beware of those scams. They're after your information so they can use that information. A Social Security representative may contact you for information, but not by email. If someone says they are from Social Security and does email you requesting information, don't respond to that message. Instead, contact your local Social Security office.
Very nicely done, and that is so true because we are dealing with identity theft virtually on a daily basis, and during and through the holiday season, it's much worse because people are accessible, they're out and about, and we just want you to be careful with your personally identifiable information. Do not carry that Social Security card with you. Do not give out bank account information. We will never contact you by email. If we call you from Social Security to conduct any business, we've already got your number. We have a specific question to ask, so keep that in mind. Okay, another question we received. I'm reaching my full retirement age and thinking about retiring in the first quarter of 2008. So Dennis, when is the best time of the year to apply for Social Security benefits?
Well, for somebody who's thinking about retiring early in 2008, now is the time to go ahead and contact us and talk to us, set up an appointment. One thing that a lot of people need to remember is if you're turning full retirement age next year in 2008, there is a higher limit. I mentioned the limit that a person can earn before they reach full retirement age, but for the year that a person reaches full retirement age, there's a higher limit of what a person can earn and still qualify for Social Security. And that limit next year is $36,120. So anybody who's going to reach that full retirement age next year, 66, as Johnie mentioned, the months before they reach age 66, if they're going to earn that $36,120 or less in that time period, we could pay them starting with January. So that's one option that they would have that they need to consider. They may not have to wait until they turn age 66 or when they're going to actually retire from their job. They could start drawing in January. So they need to go ahead and contact us now and get that information so we can help them decide if they want to go ahead and apply for January.
I would just say if there's any possibility that you're going to retire and you're past 62, you need to get in contact with us because you don't want to lose out on time that might be valuable to you. And probably our final question of the day, I'll direct it toward Johnie. My wife and I live in Vermont, plan to spend the winter in the state of Florida. My wife will turn 62 while we are down south. Of course, we have a lot of snowbirds here in Oklahoma as well that go down into Texas. But can she apply for benefits in Florida, although we don't actually live there at this time?
Certainly. These days, the neat thing is that you don't even need to be near a Social Security office to apply for benefits, regardless of where you are.
Okay.
You can file, as we stated earlier, you can file online at socialsecurity.gov to apply for your retirement benefits. What's also really neat is more than 1 million retirees right now has successfully used our online services to file for benefits.
Well, we're looking at these baby boomers coming online, and we may be adding about 10,000 per day starting in 2008. So that's definitely one thing that we're going to keep our pulse on is use of the internet. Dennis, we're about out of time. We're looking at a brand new year here, a lot of things going on. Any final comments you'd like to make?
I don't think we've given out our 800 number, our phone number that's toll-free for people to call, 1-800-772-1213. You can call that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's a lot of automated services on there. We talked about automated services online. We also have automated services on our phone, and we have live people available to talk to you Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. there.
I can't believe that Johnie actually said she was nervous. Can you?
I can't believe it.
She did a good job, and we want to thank you for joining us on this broadcast to focus on Social Security. We've had a good spirited session, and a lot of things coming up this year. We'll keep you up to date as time goes on. Now for Dennis Purifoy and Johnie Dandridge, I'm Larry Jones. Thank you for joining us.